And hello again from wjlive, powered by the Western Journal. I'm Josh Manning, Deputy Managing Editor for Assignment here at the Western Journal. Joining me on the show today, star reporter Abby Liebing.
Oh, star's a little strong.
Star reporter, why not? Would you prefer to be a crack reporter?
Sure.
Crack reporter
Crack
Abby
reporter.
Liebing. Thank you for joining us on this Friday afternoon episode. I am blessed. I've gotten to be on every show this week. That has been a lot of fun.
And I haven't been on a show in like 3 weeks.
So we're gonna finish strong here. The topic for the day is presumably one of your favorites. We've seen the audience respond super well. It's about Elon Musk. And if you have been watching the news, if you've been watching Western Journal, you can do that at westernjournal.com.
Yep.
If you've been over there, you will know the latest that has happened with Elon. Huge scandal breaking, or at least what was intended to be scandal. Allegations have come out of impropriety on Elon Musk's on his part. Abby, you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, Elon's done a fantastic job of being in the news cycle about every hour of the day for the past month. Just
he's
impeccable.
no slouch.
No, he's no slouch. But most recently, after, his long drawn out drama over Twitter and his politics and everything, a flight attendant from SpaceX came out accusing him of exposing himself and asking for an erotic massage, trying to smear him, scandal, drag Elon down. May or may not be true. He's of course claimed that it's not true. He tweeted, he's been tweeting continually about it. But he tweeted that the attacks of him should be viewed through a political lens. And that it's completely false. None of this happened. He has challenged the flight attendant on her accusation. And everyone's all distraught over it because, a lot of people on the right want to assume that this is a smear campaign against Elon. A lot of people on the left are saying, no, he's just a big bad billionaire who sexually abuses people. Believe the women, #MeToo.
Yeah. And so unthinking response.
Right. And so it's turned into, a mix of like a weird political response. Everybody's taking sides. Everyone's either treating Elon like the scum of the earth or, the Messiah.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
Well, the first question he asked in all of this was, I thought, a really good one. He's been in business for 30 years.
Yeah.
Why in the world has none of this come out before?
Exactly. He's very tactfully pointed out the timing of this. And, he said that, this is a smear that should be viewed through a political lens, which he's not wrong. Because whether or not this is a true allegation, the allegation came out right after he has been tweeting stuff about, how he's going to vote Republican instead of Democratic. How he's been very, very open about free speech with his whole Twitter deal. And how a lot of people have been saying, he's leaning more right. And so he's been very politicized. And so I think he rightly so is this is a political move. So I brought props.
I printed out, I don't know if the Post broke this or not, but I printed out the Post's headline. This is from 8:56 p.m. on the 19th. Elon Musk accused of exposing himself to private flight attendant, report claims. We've got it right up there on the screen. Now, I absolutely love this because we can add seer, prophet, and sage, and maybe even augur to Elon's list of adjectives, because about 36 hours earlier, Elon posted the following. You got it. I just saw it up on the preview screen. Throw it up there. He posted this. I hope they can see it. If you can't see it, well, I'll read it to you. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Go for it.
In the past, I voted Democrat because they were, parentheses, mostly the kindness party. But they've become the party of division and hate, so I can no longer support them and will vote Republican. Now, here's where it gets great. Again, 36 hours before that headline ran. Now watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold.
Bam.
He's
Sexual
a prophet.
harassment.
He's a prophet.
Well, the thing that astonishes me is that, yes, his profiting on this, his prophecy. But also, it's like, could you not have pulled something better than sexual abuse or assault? Because I feel like that's getting pretty old these days. With all of the news, the Me Too movement is starting to be a little bit more frowned upon. But like, I don't know why anyone thought this would work. Like, yeah, we'll go with sexual harassment. That's like, well, that was obvious.
Well, it's been their kind of lock, stock, and barrel for years. I mean, remember, that's what they tried to do to Clarence Thomas.
Right.
Remember, I think just the second African American who would have served on the Supreme Court. The group that was always claimed to always be about diversity and racial equity and all of these things. They tried to crucify an innocent black man using this exact same tactic.
Yeah.
They went after Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh had been a judge for years and years and years and years. And all of a sudden, women just came out of the woodwork alleging all sorts of things.
After decades.
Multiple of, I think everybody except, and Blasey Ford's take on it, I think, has been pretty much debunked too. Mm-hmm. But if I remember correctly, all of the others have been just like massively debunked. Just complete lies, complete fictions, or completely unsubstantiated. But this is what they go to. They did it with Donald Trump with the grabbing tape just before the election.
Yep.
The guy had billions of dollars for a long time. He was known to hang out with beautiful women. And all of a sudden, all these women come out of the woodwork alleging all kinds of things. And my favorite one is that one of them was a porn star, someone who has sex for money. And literally had sex for money.
Literally.
She got a payoff from him. She had sex with him and then got a payoff. Paid. She had sex for money with him. It just truly remarkable. And so they're going back to that old well, I think, Abby.
No, I absolutely agree. They're just going back to the old routine of it, which kind of works out for Elon Musk because he saw it coming and then he was just able to, quickly turn on it. Yeah. He tweeted after the accusations in the report, if you guys want to pull up that tweet, the attacks against me should be viewed through a political lens. This is their standard despicable playbook, but nothing will deter me from fighting for a good future and your right to free speech. So he saw it coming and then he jumped on it right away. He's like, this is just a playbook move. What else would you expect? And in pointing that out, he does a huge favor to himself of like, really? Are you going to believe this?
Well, yes, I agree. That's the exact move you have to make. The Clintons, as despicable as they are in so many ways, they were really smart in that they refused to go on the defensive. And you just can't go on the defensive against stuff like this. You have to fight back. You can't stay silent. That was an enormous problem with the second Bush White House, with George W. Bush's White House. They stayed silent in the midst of all kinds of criticism. You've got to fight back. You've got to the term in, I think, the U.S. Army, at least somewhere in the military, is embrace the suck. You have to embrace
Yes.
it. It sucks, but you have to embrace it, and you have to fight back hard. And Musk, I think he's got a history of doing that. I mean, the guy lived on the Tesla, factory floor for months and months.
He literally didn't have a home.
He's a tough guy.
Yeah,
he's a tough guy.
I appreciate that. One of his tactics is just kind of coming back at it with humor.
Yes.
Because I feel like that is a really powerful tool, especially in this current age of kind of the death of humor and jokes. Is he's like, you know what? A good way to poke back at this is with a joke. So
I know what you're going to put
He
up.
tweeted about calling this Elon Gate. So if you guys want to pull that up. So he tweeted back in 2021, if there's ever a scandal about me, please call it Elon Gate. And then after this, just hilarious, was like, finally we get to use it. And it's like
Elon Gate or elongate.
Elongate.
Which I'm sure is what he was going for. And now he has it.
It's fantastic. And I feel like, in light of this, he's going against the criticism, but he's not trying to go overboard. And I feel like one of the most powerful ways to do that is just kind of poking fun at it. Be like, I'm not even going to, this is so false that I'm not even going to take it seriously enough to really try to, legally fight against it or something.
So what I want from him next is a joke about horses, and here's why. If you've only seen the surface level coverage, you may have missed this. The flight attendant. I'm now quoting from the Post piece. Yeah. The flight attendant. Oh, wait, not that one. Hang on. I'm looking for it. Yeah, there it is. The declaration says during the massage, Musk, quote, exposed his genitals and then, quote, touched her leg and offered to buy her a horse if she would, quote, do more, referring to performance of sex acts. That is, the Insider reported that. The flight attendant who rides horses declined and finished the massage without engaging in anything sexual. The declaration obtained by Insider states. So I think it would be the funniest thing in the world if he, again, I'm presuming this is not true simply because of the nature of this. And if this is true, then shame on Elon. And it's sad that this woman went through this.
Yeah.
However, she's being used by the media as a pawn, even if it were true. I would love to see him send just an army of horses to the NBC News headquarters or CNN or something.
Hey, I wouldn't put it past him.
I have tried to get dates lots of times. I've never offered to buy a woman a horse, though.
Oh, man, you haven't gone that far?
I haven't gone that far.
Jeez.
That's what I've been missing.
I mean,
I
that's
didn't get married
baseline for
until
us
my
women.
30s. If I had played the horse card earlier, maybe I might be closing in on grandkids now if I had played the horse card earlier.
I mean, yeah, you got to come out of the gate stronger. With that
exactly.
Come out of the gate.
Yeah. So she filed, reportedly, she filed a complaint with SpaceX. I guess she was a SpaceX employee, worked on the
flight.
Yeah. She said that she felt like her career had maybe hit kind of a dead end, or she was being treated differently after Musk offered to buy her a horse. And so she made a complaint to HR, and then she got an attorney involved. SpaceX doled out, I think, $250,000, $250,000.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And then she signed a non-disclosure and a non-disparagement, which is interesting because she does not seem to be the one who has broken this to Insider. If I'm understanding correctly, is a friend of hers?
I think it's supposed to be. They were a little unclear on who the sourcing is, but it doesn't seem to have been her.
I know I saw a line saying it was coming from... Yeah, the friend was also... the flight attendant also declined to comment for the Insider story. She was not identified because she claimed to be a sexual misconduct victim. The friend was also not identified by Insider, so I think there's a friend leaking this. But that means that she's in... I mean, presumably, I haven't read the NDA, but presumably she's in breach of that, and I'm sure SpaceX or Elon can sue her.
Yeah.
The problem with this is that this is the same problem that I had with, I guess was it Stormy who signed the NDA and then broke it? I can't remember.
I think it was
one of the recent accusers had signed an NDA and then it got out anyway. The huge problem with that is that because this is political, you've got people who doubtless. Say SpaceX sues her for the $250,000 back. You've got people who would easily plunk down $500,000 just to screw over Elon.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's again, guys, it's really strange that none of this came out until literally probably 24 hours. I'd have to see when the Insider piece was put together, but I haven't done that because it's actually my day off. But I'm in because no one else was willing to work with Abby.
Because he's a true soldier. I know.
I'm a true soldier.
You had to put up with me.
But this... So I was talking just randomly with the lady who cuts my hair earlier today, and we got over onto the Me Too movement.
Yes.
And she's not particularly political. I would call her basically conservatarian, small C Christian, kind of.
Yeah.
And she's, but definitely with a feminist streak, and she's hyper skeptical of the Me Too movement.
As she should be.
And I mean, Abby, we've talked about this some, but I feel like that movement, and as you noted, there are women who are jumping on here just immediately say, oh, me too, me too.
Yeah, it's payout day.
But I think it has actually hurt women and hurt hurt women's claims when it comes to sexual harassment.
Oh, I think it unbelievably cheapens women's claims to harassment. That means that anybody who has been genuinely abused and harassed, they're drowned out by the cacophony of everyone else.
Yep.
And as the Me Too movement has gone on and on and on, and people have, been proven to be lying about it, yep. it just makes everyone skeptical now. So now it inevitably, the Me Too movement hijacking itself.
Yeah.
Standing up for women's rights.
Yep.
But what has happened, it's cheapened the voice of any woman who actually has been abused. Where it's like everyone, some people will be like, yeah, I'm on your side right away. But yep. by and large, it's kind of like everyone's going to give you a second look, a little side eye, a little like, were you really? I don't know. And that's really damaging for people who've actually been abused and actually harassed.
I know 3 women that I know of who have been either raped or molested, mm-hmm. and none of them talk about it. None of them do.
That's very common.
I mean, the person I know the best who had this happen, she was so skeptical during the Kavanaugh hearings. She said, "Look, I have been through this. I know this. You don't do what these people are doing.
You not.
Don't go to newspapers.
Yeah.
You don't relive it. This is not it. You want to die, and you hope it goes away."
It's so awful and damaging and completely changes your life and who you are that you do not say, let's spend a year shining a spotlight on this for the entire world to look at
and relive your worst.
Yeah, because then it's the nightmare again and again and again.
I've told this story. I think I've told it on here before, but I don't know if you've ever heard me tell it. I had some friends in college, and had some friends in college.
Once upon a time, you had friends.
Yeah. So one day I'm in my dorm, and a girl who I knew really well came by, and she said, "Man, I made a big mistake last night." And I said, "Oh, that doesn't sound good. What happened?" She said, "Well, I went to see this guy who I've had a crush on for a long time, and things went too far, and it was her first time, and she was also just about engaged to another guy, and so she was just at the lowest of the low. But she was owning it. She was saying, 'Look, I went over there. I'm stupid to have gone over there. I shouldn't have done it.' Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, she cried a little bit, and it was sad, and my heart broke for her. And so it was a small campus. Things get around pretty quickly. The next morning, about 24 hours later, I'm in the dining hall, and a mutual friend of ours came up to me, and he said, "Hey, did you hear about so-and-so?" And I didn't know who knew what. And so I said, "Well, what do you know?" And he said, "Oh, well, I just talked to her, and she said the guy who was involved that he basically raped her."
Oh man!
This was 24 hours later, folks. 24 hours, and she came and talked to me. I know the exact story. She owned it. Within 24 hours, the version of it that was floating around campus was that he had raped her.
It's like a nightmare version of the kids game telephone.
Yes.
Where you go around the circle and you try to keep the same word, but it never ever works. It's like the worldwide game of telephone.
Yeah. And this guy, he's a successful guy now. I mean, if this were to, and I don't think she's the kind of person who would do this. I hope to God she isn't. But, she could come out and start talking about this and ruin the guy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it would be absolutely horrible. And what it did to me was it jaded me every time I have heard, "Oh, man, this guy did this to me." I've thought, did he really?
Did he?
Or are you like my friend back in college?
Yeah.
And that is so tragic. That is so sad.
Well, and I got to say, I mean, your friend aside, in general, there's such a pressure from the Me Too movement and any community that you're in that even if a woman, if you make a mistake, if it's not rape, there's just the constant questioning of and the peer pressure of, Was it?
Yeah.
You want to rethink that?
Yeah.
You want to cash in on this a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really, really cynical view of it. But that's kind of the baseline of it, of like, you had those pressures are immediately applied onto any woman.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question then. Let's shift this from Musk to more of the Me Too stuff and more of just kind of this situation where we're in, where people sleep together without much thought of consequences, and there are consequences, and sometimes women will go in thinking that the guy's not going to make a move, but the guy totally does make a move. So I want to ask a question about this. Or I want to float something. I want to see if you agree with it. So I've been thinking about this a lot lately. The past food, drink, and sleep, the dominant drive for men is sex. Mm-hmm. Okay? You can look at it two ways. Either God put it there to keep the species from dying out, or evolution put it there to keep the species from dying out. Let's just play the evolution version of it, okay? That means that it's been hardwired into us for millions of years.
Yes.
I'm not an evolutionist, but let's just play that game. Somehow, and I think the counter drive in women is not the drive to propagate, but I think it's the drive to protect children, maybe.
I think it's kind of dual. It's to protect, and in order to protect, you kind of have to, women really want care and love more than just like a raw sexual desire. It's like, I want to be I want safety and protection so that I can then give safety and protection. It's kind of like that cycle.
Bingo. Okay. So then here's what I want to float. I would suggest that a large number, if not most women today, when they are on a date with a guy, when they are considering a relationship with a guy, they never stop to think that the drive that they're dealing with in his head has been there. Again, we'll go from an evolutionary standpoint, which I'm not, but we'll use that. Has been there for millions of years, and is the drive that is responsible for keeping the species alive. I feel like they don't stop and think, wait a minute, I poke at this thing at my
risk.
Great risk. Am I right
risk.
that they don't?
No,
that
I would
it's
agree.
not understood.
I would agree. I think there's kind of like that fundamental divide. A lot of women just don't factor that in, and they just kind of go blow past that point. I remember there's a hilarious Louis C.K. skit from 10 years ago, where he's talking about how the number one threat to women is men, and how, women just like go on little dates, and he compared it. He's like, it's kind of like a woman being like, well, I have this choice to go on a date with a bear or a lion. I hope this one's nice. That's kind of what it comes down to. And women don't factor that in a lot of times.
That's it. And men, men, it is so much easier to be a man in so many ways. Yes, we have to work in sewers and go to war, but but we don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about the same thing happening to us. And where men completely miss the boat so much of the time is that they don't understand exactly what you said, that generally the woman's desire is for safety and stability so that she has protection and the infant has protection, so that dyad has protection. And I think men completely blow past that and have no idea.
Oh, I completely
in a relationship.
Agree.
Yeah. They get in the relationship. They've got the guy's got something going, and now he essentially has. We're talking in secular terms. He essentially has access to a mate, which is what he wants most out of it.
Yep.
What the drive wants most out of it. But he doesn't see the need to provide the other stuff.
Exactly. And so it's like, I feel like the whole problem with men and women, and it just keeps getting worse and worse as sex and relationships get more casual, is it's like just two ships passing in the night.
Yeah.
There's no, men aren't understanding what women need. Women aren't understanding the fire that they're playing with. Yep. Because if you do, in an actual good loving relationship, you're supposed to meld those two things together so that it works in a great dynamic of, stability, safety, propagating the species. But if you don't give any credence, that's just like, oh, you're just passing right on by.
Well, and it's bad for both of them.
Oh, it's awful.
But at least in the women so get the short end of that stick, though, because at least in the man's case, if they are ships passing in the night, he can go on and just have other dalliances.
Yeah.
The woman is stuck, especially if it's a successful coupling. The woman is stuck with the child. And I mean, it is a horrible, horrible setup. And that's one of the reasons. I mean, I think God ordained marriage. And if so, then all of this completely makes sense. But even if he didn't, humans figured it out. You need something to tie those two creatures together.
Yes, exactly.
So that the infant will grow up successfully, or the infants.
Exactly. Yeah, you need something to tie the two
Yep.
different things
Yep.
together,
Yep.
and you have to have the difference together to make it actually work.
So I heard a great quote. This was probably 6 months ago, and I shared it with my wife afterward. It was from a local pastor here in Phoenix, and he said, people will come to him and say, man, my marriage isn't working. And they'd go through all of the bad stuff that's going on right now. And he said, what I want to tell them is, well, no, actually, your marriage is working because all of this bad stuff is happening, yet you're still together. That's the purpose of the marriage.
That's what
if it's not
relationships are.
tough, if it's not tough, yeah, you can stick together for forever. That's fun. That's a blast.
Yeah.
We all love that. The function of marriage is to keep people together when things get hard. And I think we have just completely societally lost that. Marriage no longer has any value, and so
Zero
you do have
value.
ships passing in the night, motherless children, fatherless children.
Yeah.
Not many motherless children.
A lot of fatherless children, and it's just kind of, as the ships pass in the night, then it's just, I think it ends up being mutual abuse.
Yeah.
As neither men or women really seek to understand the bond that should be, or understand the differences that have to come together. It's just kind of like, well, then I use you for this, and men use women for sex, and women try to use men for protection. That doesn't work, and it's just kind of a horrible
you end
cycle.
you end up hating each other.
Yeah.
If you're not careful, you end up with people who are just insanely resentful. And that's bad too, because you have a built-in urge for a mate. And man, if you become resentful against the mate, the sex that you're looking for, you're going to mate with. That's a huge problem.
It's just terrible.
Well, we wandered far afield from Elon, but I thought that was
it's worth wandering far afield from.
Well, it's just, I look at this stuff and I think about the Me Too stuff, and I think about there were a ton of women involved in Me Too who totally, if you were going up to Harvey Weinstein's hotel room, you're a woman, you were going up there by yourself, and you didn't think something was going to happen. I mean, gosh, you are so unbelievably naive. I'm sure there have been women who just didn't realize what they were dealing with.
Yeah.
And maybe that's kind of the point of this half of the this half of the show. Just realize when you're dealing with men, that is a really old part of their brains.
Yeah.
And it is driving hard. And the only reason... So here, tell me if you disagree with this. The only reason that the West is not like Saudi Arabia, as far as the way women are treated, the only reason is Christianity.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I believe in a pretty Hobbesian view of nature at the end of the day, where men, creatures are essentially animals, very animalistic, and the one thing that can guide them is ethics and morals, which is what Christianity and religion, nonviolent religion, provides. And without that, you're just left to a lot more of an animalistic culture.
Do you think I've often thought Victorian values actually emerged as a way to defend against this?
I
came up with chivalry, all those things.
I have a huge theory on this.
Yeah.
I have a huge theory on this because kind of the whole Victorian code of conduct. If you notice that emerged when the British Empire was taking over the entire world, and it was bumping up into all of these other cultures that
India, Sati,
that were pretty savage. I savage that. Oh man, I'm gonna get canceled for
that's
that.
The right term.
But
you burn widows. That's savage.
You're burning widows. Yeah. You're running into massacring Muslims. And the Western Christian world was bumping straight into that in the 19th century because imperialism. Mm-hmm. And I think that born out of that then became the very strong code of conduct that prevailed in the British Empire in the West of like, this is our way to kind of fight back against this as we expand our empire. And kind of keep our distinctions, our Christian values, and some people argue then it then just dominates everyone else, which it kind of does. But I think that's kind of what it's born out of is you bump up against another culture and you put up your defenses.
See, I've thought that essentially the thinkers at that time who kind of derived those values, I have thought that they realized, just again, Hobbesian, they realized how dangerous men are. They realized how dangerous male men are, not just mankind, but males specifically. And they designed codes of conduct to essentially protect women from that. Yeah. And I mean, if you think about it, why there was some stupid county in, New England, I can't remember on the East Coast or the West Coast, but they just legalized toplessness on the beach.
I feel like that's got to be West Coast.
And I think it's got to be West Coast.
It's too cold for East Coast.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, fine, in a vacuum, all right, fine, do that. I guarantee you nothing good is going to come of that. All that's going to do is, I was going to use one word, let's use excite. Excite and incite a part of men that is unbelievably hard to control, and we had kind of beaten back a little bit. Yeah. And it is a shame. And we got to wrap up, and we've gone super far afield, but it is a shame that women, sadly, can't go around dressed however they want. That would be super nice. That would be great.
Be super cool.
That's not the world we live in.
Sadly.
And it's unbelievably dangerous for women, and that's why we came up with ideas of chivalry and ideas of putting women on a pedestal. And the more sort of maybe second, but definitely third wave feminism and what are we in fourth? I don't know.
I don't even know.
The more that erodes those divisions, the worse it is going to get for women, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I always tell people when they argue for like complete equality between men and women, I always say, well, that doesn't account for differences. Which, fine, if you want to throw out all the differences between men and women, fine, do that. But that means that women have to be a lot more animalistic. And if you're ready to do that, go all in.
You guys got to work in the sewers, too.
That means you got to work in sewers and you got to get abused. That's horribly cynical. But if you're going to fight for absolute equality and be blind to the differences, you better be ready to become an animal and be treated like one.
Yep. And on that note, you better get ready to be abused. That's Abby Liebing. You can write her, care of the Western Journal in Phoenix, Arizona. Mm-hmm. On that note, let's wrap for today and wrap for the week. We went way more philosophical than we normally do, but I enjoyed the conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for sticking with us today and this week. Remember, we are here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Let's see here. Other updates for you guys. Be sure to go online to westernjournal.com/join. There are multiple ways there that you can join with us, support and support our fight back against the left and for traditional values, Americana, Christianity.
Yeah.
Things that have made the West great. And as I've said many times before, we're a small company. We're family owned. We make most of our money through ads online. And big tech is trying to smash us absolutely all the time. It's become harder and harder to make money. So the role you play as supporters is absolutely vital to what we do. Nobody's getting rich off of this. We do this solely because we believe in the cause. So thank you. Thank you for supporting us. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to click the subscribe button. After that, a little bell's going to pop up. Click that bell. That'll make sure you get notified every time we go live. All right, for Abby, for everybody in the booth, everybody in the newsroom, I'm Josh Manning. This is Western Journal Live. This is WJ Live.
WJ Live.
Sorry. And we're going to see you next Monday. Thanks.
Have a good weekend.
Cool. That was super fun.
That was very fun. I enjoyed that.